Welcome to Tales of Podcastia. Season 1, it's a legendary book club, embellished with voices. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Bernard.
And this podcast is our newest Ko-Fi timed reward series. We're going to cover every game in the Tales of series in release order, but playing the best version of the ones that came out. So technically this would be the third game released, but it's a remake of the first one, and the first one is not as good as whatever. You get what I'm saying. But
every is loosely defined. We're not going to learn Japanese and travel back in time in order to play Tales of Eternia online or Tales of Commons.
Yeah. Or either of the surprisingly really good but poorly supported and therefore canceled Mobage games that they had. Tales of the Rays and Tales of Crestoria. Both were awesome and both have been canceled.
Fun.
But yeah, so
basically we have a list of 20 Tales of games to get through.
Yes.
And they're gonna release more before we get through it.
Yeah. I'm hoping that we get some sort of like Sonic Gems collection, but for the Tales of series, and we get like the DS games and Rebirth and a bunch of these like transitionary period ones in a release with English. That's what I would like. I doubt it. We're probably just going to get Symphonia again.
I mean, they re-released Symphonia, and no one liked it, so
yeah,
because they did a bad job.
But anywho, what exactly is the Tales series, and why should we cover it in detail the way that we have been doing for the Trails games? Well, I covered this a little bit when we played Tales of Symphonia on the main podcast, but the Tales series is the flagship JRPG series of Bandai Namco. Maybe Dark Souls is now their new flagship JRPG series, depends on your definition, because both of them aren't very traditional JRPGs. But so like Square has Final Fantasy, Enix has Dragon Quest, Capcom has Breath of Fire, Konami has Suikoden, Falcom has The Legend of Heroes, and Bamco has Tales. And unlike the rest of the games on the list, Tales has never ever been turn-based. It's always been a variation on their linear motion battle system, where the characters move in a side-scrolling battle system and have real-time combat with the monsters. Growing up, when I was playing Symphonia and I was trying to tell my friends to play it, that they would like it, I said that it had Street Fighter battles. But now that I'm older, I know that's not accurate. It actually has Super Smash Brothers battles. You have an attack button that has 4 different attacks for your 4 different directions, and you have a specials button that does a different special move in each of your 4 directions, and you can jump. And yeah, so it's Smash Brothers, but you don't knock people off the edges, and you don't have a lot of stupid items. But eventually, the side-scrolling aspect of it would be dropped in various different ways, but that's not for like 13 more games. The Tales of series is also, for the most part, gone beyond the like party chat system like you find in Dragon Quest and Aretha. Shouts out to Aretha. No one else has played that game, but the character arts are fantastic. And so instead of just having like a party chat button, you have full-blown bonus conversations called skits basically constantly throughout the game. And that's why this is a worthy slot filler for Bookclub no Kiseki. It's because while it's a huge series in Japan, it's very niche over in America, and it has so many words in it because there's so many skits available at all times. Thankfully for Tales, skits are very rarely important to the plot, so we don't have to feel like we have to cover all of them the way we do side quests in the Trails games.
Also, in so far in Tales, just from playing the beginning of Tales of Phantasia, it seems that scenes are reasonable lengths.
Yeah.
They say what they need to say, and Move on.
In fact, one of my favorite scenes of this whole thing is said with literally one line, and the rest of it is just sprite acting, and that's cool. Trails could never.
We are going to make that mistake a few times, I think.
Yes, absolutely. So another really cool thing that Tales does is they take advantage of the fact that the genre box that you fill in on what genre is your game isn't a drop down. You can just write whatever the fuck you want there. So they give each game a characteristic genre name to summarize each game in a small, cute little subtitle-y sort of way. So, for instance, Tales of Phantasia is a legendary RPG, and then when they remade it with voice acting on the PSP, they updated it to Legendary RPG, embellished with voices. And then Tales of Symphonia is the To Resonate With You RPG. So that brings us to our recurring opening segment we're going to have for all these episodes, where I get to ask, hey, Bernard, if Final Fantasy 13 were a Tales of game, what would its characteristic genre name be?
Fabula Nova Crystallis.
I mean, yes.
Proper nouns RPG.
Proper nouns RPG. Yeah. Let's see. So you have a lot of like literally killing God. You have a lot of hot people.
I mean, that's a lot of JRPGs killing God as hot people.
Yes. You have crashing a planet into another planet.
Mm-hmm.
You have
really shockingly good interpersonal relationship drama.
Mm-hmm.
You have an established romantic relationship that's not like a laborious 40-hour love story. It's just there, and it's great.
It's the Blinded by the Light RPG.
Yes.
Because that battle theme is so fucking good. I don't know if we've nailed it yet, but let's see. What are some other characteristics that could maybe tell us the genre?
Hope is good character RPG.
Hope is good, actually. Actually, something about hope, like the concept, might be good.
RPG of hope, and also hope is a guy. Yeah. RPG to challenge destiny and create a miracle.
That's fantastic. Is that from something, or did you just?
I just made that up.
That's really good. I think we found it. That's the one. So yeah, that went by pretty quickly. So maybe we'll do a couple of them per episode.
I think just one is fine, but we'll see how we feel.
Yeah, we'll see how we feel, because sometimes we might nail it right out of the gate.
Yeah.
But, for now, we're gonna listen to some Tales of Podcastia, not Tales of Phantasia music, and then we'll talk about the plot for this week.
We do not claim ownership of this music.
all caps.
All rights to Bandai Namco.
I do not assume any copyright, or however they always phrase it. That sounds so stupid.
It's so funny. I'm not actually Nintendo.
So suddenly, the boss shoots a ball of dark energy, striking down the party's archer. The healer attempts to revive him, while the fighter charges towards an imposing figure, but is swatted away easily. However, the mage isn't giving up yet. The light of heaven shines on its avenger. The gates of hell shall be thy doom's harbinger. Shine, celestial thunder! It ends here! Indignation! The boss is caught off guard. A magical blast hits the boss, and he has no choice but to teleport away and retreat. But when he arrives to his destination, he's cornered by 4 new heroes who complete a binding ritual and lock the boss in a tomb sealed with 2 amulets. Once he's been sealed, a robed man, tired from all of the effort, says, "It seems like the duty entrusted to my bloodline for generations is finally at an end."
I love that feeling.
It's so good. The game just fucking lets go, and it just starts. And this is the scene I was talking about. They're like the mage's thing, and then the robed guy's line are the only lines. The rest of it is just no explanation given. We see it later, and there's a whole ass conversation that they just ignore right here, and you just are buckled in, and it's good.
I specifically love the feeling of when the duty entrusted to your bloodline for generations is at an end. When you finally fulfill the duty entrusted to your bloodline for generations, it feels so nice.
But also starting in media res.
Yes.
So then we get a pointless FMV credit sequence, after which a dozen or so years later, we meet Cress Albane. In the game me and Bernard are playing, he's Kless Alvane, because that's how it's romanized in the credits of the Japanese version. But in the Game Boy Advance official localization, which is a bad localization, but it's the only official one, he's Cress. And then every time he cameo appearances in all of the other games, he's been Cress. Tales of Cresstoria is an alternate universe where Cress is still the main character, but he has a different plot. He's Cress, but we're probably going to say Kless on accident because that's what our game says. And
yeah, we are playing a fan translation of the PlayStation version, of which there are 2 fan translations, which are different from the official translation, and different from the fan translation of the Super Famicom version. There's lots of versions of this game you can play.
Yeah. If you want to play any of them, the Fantasian Productions version of the PlayStation 1 game is probably the best one. That's the one that we're going to be playing along with.
It owns.
The only problem is, for some reason, they decided to change the text on the PlayStation screen, turns out. So a lot of emulators have a lot of problems with it. So it took me a hot minute to get it working on my 353. It only kind of works on the Steam Deck. It's kind of annoying to get to work, but the team that did all of the hacking disbanded years ago, so we can't get an update to it. We just have to deal with it. But yeah, it's this fan translation, it tries to match the tone of the Symphonia Onward official Bamco releases, and it does a pretty good job so far.
I really am enjoying it. Some of the lines I feel are trying a little too hard to be woolsy without actually being woolsy. But for the most part, I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's definitely not working designs level, and it's not Keikaku means plan level. The other PlayStation 1 translation is a little bit Keikaku means plan, and therefore everyone else that's not me and Bernard will say to play that version. But yeah, we like the English to read good more than it to be accurate to the Japanese. Yeah, so Cress lives in a small town called Toltis, where his father Miguel and his mom Maria live with them. Maria is sick with an undisclosed sickness, and so Cress and Miguel have been taking care of her. Miguel is a teacher of a special fighting style of some sort, and he's drilling some trainees when Cress arrives home from taking care of his mom. Miguel's like, "Hey, Cress, about that pendant that I gave you." But before they can talk about it, Cress's childhood friend Chester calls Cress from outside. They're about to go hunting in the woods to get some food, and Miguel's like, "Okay, we'll just talk about the pendant at dinner tonight. Go get some food, hurry back, etc., etc." So Cress and Chester head out to the forest. In the forest, Cress and Chester see a boar, so they chase after it, eventually winding up at this old half-dead tree. As Cress approaches the tree, he sees a spirit that comes out of the tree and says, "Do not harm the tree." And then the tree suddenly grows into a huge, flourishing, like giant tree, but it's just an illusion, and it quickly returns back to its half-dead state. Shortly after, they catch up with the boar, and we have our first boss fight.
It's a boar.
It's a boar. B-O-R-E.
True. I mean, we don't really have any arts at this point, so...
Yeah, you just kind of smack the attack button until you win.
Yep.
After we do win, you suddenly can hear a bell ringing out from the village. It's the warning bell that they only ring whenever the village is under attack. Fuck.
Which never happens. Except today, because we established a plot point before we left.
Mm-hmm.
Which was a bad idea to do, Miguel.
Yeah. It's all Miguel's fault, actually, this whole game. If he would have just said, no, let's do it now and not plan for the future, everything would have been fine.
Mm-hmm.
So Cress and Chester hurry back to town and find that, oh fuck, it's been burned to the ground. Chester runs off towards his house, and Cress does the same. He goes to his house. When he gets home, Miguel is already dead, and Maria barely clings to life. Cress tries to stabilize her, but she dies shortly after giving Cress a warning. Flee to your Uncle Olson's place in Euclid. They're after your pendant. And then she croaks.
I feel like a lot of JRPGs, when the hero's town burns down, they don't have everyone die.
Yeah.
Literally everyone in the town is fucking dead.
Mm-hmm. And like if you go and talk to like the NPCs as you're leaving, like everyone's getting ready for a huge wedding the next day, and so there's a lot of cute little chatter about the people that are going to get married, and so you come back and like the entire bridal party is just corpsed on the ground together, and it's brutal.
Mm-hmm.
So Cress goes to find Chester and is like, dude, we gotta leave. But Chester says no. He's gonna stay behind and bury everyone, give them a proper burial. And
bury a whole fucking town.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so exhausting.
Cress is like, we don't even know if the people who attacked the village are gone. They could kill you. And Chester's like, I don't give a shit. I'm staying. If you gotta go, I understand. I'll catch up later. So Cress ventures out alone, hoping that since he has the pendant, maybe he'll pull the focus away from the village so Chester will stand a better chance.
I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Did you find the super badass sword?
The Night Saber? No, I did not. The Let's Play found it, and I did not.
I found it, and it's real good. It's not like game-breaking or anything, but it's just a lot better than what you would have otherwise.
Yeah, I think it's like the 3rd or 4th slot sword, and so you only can get... You start with the first slot, and you can only buy the second one by the end of this week, so definitely a leg up at the beginning of the game. So Cress runs off through the northern pass through the mountains, and he arrives at the town of Euclid, where his aunt and uncle are happy to see him. They had heard rumors that Toltus was destroyed, and they had feared the worst about Cress. They offer Cress a bed to sleep in, and after exploring the town, he turns in for the night. But during the night, soldiers march into his room and arrest him. Cress asks his uncle for help, but it was his uncle who called the cops. The knights promised to spare the town if he delivered Cress, so he gave up his own nephew. Uncle Olson stands with a heavy heart as the soldiers leave, but at least he's protected himself and his family. Until the knights return, and they kill Olson and his family too.
And that's why you don't call the cops on your nephew when your nephew has a pendant that the cops are after.
You don't do it. It's every time. So in the knight's castle, Cress is led before a man in all black armor who takes Cress's pendant from his neck and is like, "You fucking suck, dweeb," and tosses him in the dungeon.
Before he tosses him in the dungeon, he goes and stands in front of a mirror and monologues or something, and his reflection is fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's important later.
It was the next line in my notes, so at least
since
both of
you
us
said he
noticed
was
it.
already in. I thought you meant he was already in the dungeon, so
No,
I thought you
not
just skipped that.
No. It's very important. I don't know if it's very important, but it seems very important.
Yes.
Actually, the resolution of that happens later, and I didn't recognize that as a resolution until just now, so we'll get to that. So Cress is thrown in jail, and he's trying to find a way out, and there's a small hole in the wall of his cell, and he hears a woman on the other side being like, "Hey, stick your hand in the hole. I have to give you something." And so Cress does, and she hands him an earring. She's like, "There's a girl somewhere in this dungeon. Yeah, I need you to break her out and escape with her. The two of you together can work together and get out of here." And she's like, "Take the earring that I gave you, press it up against the wall. It'll help you get out." And so Cress is like, "Okay, cool." He does it, and then the hole like collapses in, so it's big enough for him to crawl through now. And when he crawls through it to thank the woman for freeing him, the only person in the other cell is dead, and they've been run through with a sword long before Cress ever arrived. Cress takes the sword from her gut and uses it as a lever to open the rest of the doors in the prison. And he finds the other cell that has an alive girl in it, and he meets her, and her name is Mint. Cress as in watercress, and Mint as in mint, because this is a Japanese game. Everyone has punny names. Cress tells Mint that they should escape together, and Mint is like, "Cool, can we go save my mom real quick? She was chained up with me. She's in a cell just like right over there. Can we just pop over and get her?" And Cress, thinking on his feet, is like, "I was locked up in that cell. There was nobody in there with me. So I don't know what happened to your mom, but she wasn't over there. And if you try to walk over there, Cress will stop you from going." And it's like, no, let's not let Mint have to see her mom's corpse desiccated like that. So Cress pries open the bars to a sewer grate, and they escape out that way. So within the first hour, we have had our forest dungeon, our prison dungeon, and now the sewer dungeon. We got all three of the tropes knocked out in the first half hour of this game.
Hell yeah.
So on the way out of the castle, Cress gets badly poisoned by a monster when he's trying to protect Mint, so she carries him off to safety. When he eventually comes to, he's in a large house owned by a man named Morrison. Morrison says that he cured Cress and heard all about him from his buddy and that lady that carried him in. Mint comes in and gives Cress some homemade quiche to teach him about the cooking mini game of the series and to help him feel better. And she's like, "Now that you got some food in you, go outside and get some fresh air." Once outside, if we're able to parse the level geometry correctly, we can make it into the front yard where Chester is there to see us. Morrison was like, "Yeah, I said your buddy and that lady, so obviously Chester was here." Morrison had showed up at the village shortly after Cress left and helped Chester bury the dead so they could catch back up. Morrison came to the village because he had been trailing a man in black armor, but it was too late to be able to save Toltus. He apologizes to Cress for not being able to save his parents, who were old friends of his. He also apologizes to Mint because her mom was also a friend of his.
And her name also starts with M.
Yeah. Morrison, Merrill, Maria, and Miguel. Keep them straight. Also Cress and Chester. And Mint. I can't wait for us to get a new party member that has literally any other letter to start their name.
Mm-hmm.
Morrison asks Cress if he has his pendant, and Cress says that no, the man in black stole it before he was thrown in prison. Morrison is like, "Fuck," and runs off to the mausoleum. He's like, "Stay here, stay safe, because if the sword master Miguel couldn't stop the man in black armor, what chance do a level 5 swordsman, a level 3 ranger, and a level 2 cleric have?" So a little bit later, they're inside chilling, and Chester is like, "You know what? This is stupid. Let's just go after Morrison. He's not the boss of us. He can't tell us to stay here." But Cress isn't so sure because he doesn't want to die. And while they're trying to figure out if they should go or not, Master Tristan shows up. I didn't mention him earlier. I totally forgot to. He was at the village with Miguel. He's Miguel's old master, and he had to leave town shortly before we left town.
He
So
was mysteriously called away.
Mm-hmm. He instantly recognizes Mint and is like, "Oh, you must be Meryl's daughter." And Cress is like, "How does everyone keep recognizing us?" And Tristan is like, "Oh, if you do you really want to know?" And Cress is like, "Yes. Also, teach me how to be kick-ass at swords so I can avenge our village." Tristan is like, "Okay, but your swords aren't good enough. Go buy some swords and then meet me at the cave nearby. I'll wait for you there." So we get to the cave, which turns out to be the entrance to the mausoleum that Morrison ran off to. Tristan teaches Cress an art that I still don't understand how to use. It doesn't make sense to me. I haven't gotten it to work a single time. And
I'm pretty sure you have to, if you look at it's a combination of two arts. If you look at the other arts, you have a mastery level, and I'm pretty sure what he says is that you have to master both of the component arts in order to use the combination art.
That would make sense. I don't know. It just this game's not very hard because its battle system is frankly not very good yet. So you kind of just smash some buttons and have some vibes.
It's nice.
It's nice. So we make our way through the mausoleum dungeon and eventually catch up with Morrison, who is staring down the man in the black armor and his knights next to this huge coffin shrouded in magical light stuff. It turns out it's the same coffin as the one in the intro that the heroes locked the boss into, and it's around this time that you notice that Morrison was the guy in the robe who had the single line at the beginning. Cress and the gang arriving is enough of a distraction that Morrison looks away. So the man in the black armor, who's revealed to be named Mars, slips away and destroys the magical seal on the coffin. Mars announces that Lord Douse was a evil warlord from 100 years ago, and the world rallied together, and a group of heroes eventually bested him. But now he's going to awaken him and make him do his bidding, and Mars will be super strong. Morrison is like, "Yeah, I know. I was there. I was descended from those heroes. Actually, so are Cress and Mint. They're descended from those heroes as well." Mars starts to monologue some more, but Cress and Chester show up. We're like, "Shut up, nerd. We're here for revenge, not to understand the plot." But just then the coffin opens and Daos himself emerges. I know it's Douse because they make a pun on it later, but it's chaos with a D. So I'm probably going to say Daos a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, Douse emerges from the coffin. Mars is like, "I freed you. I'm your master." And Douse is like, "No, I used you to free myself." And he Kamehamehas Mars to death. So the spooky in the thing was Douse controlling Mars without Mars realizing it, because Mars now is dead. So we're not going to get any further thing on the spooky. So the spooky was supposed to be he's being controlled by somebody, and that somebody is the Dark One. Fun. So yeah, Mars is dead, and Dow sees Morrison is like, "Oh, it's you. You're the last survivor of the assholes what locked me in this coffin." And he starts to prepare a Kamehameha for Morrison. Morrison is like, "Fuck, I don't have any time to explain, so I'm going to use some cleric thaumaturgy shit and send you away. Take this book and good luck." And he starts casting his cleric spell, but there's not enough time to cast it. So Chester dives in front of the first Kamehameha and takes the brunt of it. The spell finishes, and Cress and Mint vanish. Morrison runs over to check on Chester, but Douse marches upon him, preparing a huge-ass spell. He says, "I know that was the light of time travel. Where did you send them?" But Morrison refuses to tell him. So Douse unleashes that huge-ass PlayStation 1 graphics spell on Morrison as we fade to white. Cress and Mint come to on a grassy cliff. They have no idea what's happened, and so they're trying to gather their thoughts and figure it out. But then they remember they have an exposition book on them, so they read the book aloud to the class. "Here I shall chronicle the history of the war against an invader from another world. Long ago, the invader appeared in our world, and a war against him erupted shortly thereafter. That invader called himself Daus. Daus cannot be harmed by normal means. In addition, he possesses an astonishing spell allowing him to oppose the flow of time. During the final moments of our ancestors' decisive battle, the wounded Daus used that spell to transport himself to the future. Since then, we, the Morrison bloodline, accepted the duty of fighting him should he reappear. My generation is where this phase has concluded. Sensing the first signs of Daus's arrival, I gathered my fellow clerics, Meryl and Maria, as well as the swordsman Miguel, and made my way to the mausoleum. Due to forces beyond our control, it is not possible to vanquish him in this age. We instead devised a plan to steal him for eternity. We see a flashback of the intro scene with Morrison, Miguel, Maria, and Meryl waiting for Daus to show up and then using the penance to seal him in the coffin. This one has dialogue, basically delivers the same information as the one without dialogue does. The book continues. Daus appeared in a dazzling burst of light, and though it was difficult, our plan has succeeded. 2 pendants were used to divide Daus's power, and one was entrusted to the Albane couple, and the other to Meryl Adnade. I myself took upon the role of watching over the seal itself. Cress and Mint then decide that they must find a way to stop Daus, but also first they have to figure out where the fuck they are. More like when the fuck they are, which we'll figure out next week.
What?
Air horn. So yeah, let's listen to some more Tales of Phantasia music and then talk about our memorable moments.
So, this music that we're listening to, the Tales of series music is, my understanding is it's primarily composed by Motoi Sakuraba.
That sounds right, yeah.
Who also has done like Star Ocean, Dark Souls, lots of cool stuff. And most of the music this week is real good. The oh shit, we gotta run, there's trouble music is, I think, pretty bad. Yeah. But other than that, I think the music this week was real good.
The only time I liked the oh shit, there's trouble, we gotta run music was when it had that atonal ass bell through it when the bell was going off. I love that shit. That was so cool. Good. Also, the game has a run button, but it doesn't ever tell you it has a run button until you hear the bell and Cress is like, shit, we have to run. And then you're in auto run at that point. And you just book it because Cress is running fast. I thought that was a fantastic little touch.
I really enjoyed the opening of this game. There's it's not like Trails level, but there's a good bit of density to the opening section because like Chester has this sister named Ami, I believe, and as he's leaving, she like mentions she has something for Cress, and so Chester mentions that when you talk to him, and so if you want, you can go speak to her, and she gives you a little plushie of yourself, which is cute. And then also, if you go to the item store, the item store owner is like, hey, Chester, give this apple to your sister, which is a little weird. But if you do go back and give the apple to Ami, Chester gets the title Kind Brother, and you're like, what are titles? What do they do?
Nothing. They're basically proto achievements in this game. It's just different ways to reward you for going and finding all of the little dense cool things that this game has. Eventually they become a thing TM in the series, but they're not a thing yet.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, is this gonna change my stats? But no.
Not yet. So the skits were not in the Super NES version of this game. They were added for the PlayStation version, and because of that, they don't work the same way that they do in the rest of the series. The rest of the series, when you unlock a skit, it'll just pop up the title of the skit at the bottom of your screen, and you press usually the select button, and then watch the skit there. In this game, because they wasn't in the Super NES, they squeezed it in where if you press the select button anytime on the world map, it will take you to a skit, and if there aren't any new ones, it'll just replay the last one that you came across. So you have to remember to do it a little bit.
Yeah, and I often forget.
Mm-hmm. I did run into one that I thought was awesome, though. There's a skit close to the beginning where Chester's like, so Cress, is the bandana like part of your kung fu or whatever? And Cress is like, what? He's like, you wear one, your dad wears one, all of the trainees were wearing one. Like, is that part of it? Like, is that part of the training? And Cress is like, oh no, I hadn't noticed, but Master Tristan doesn't wear a bandana. Could you imagine that bald guy wearing a bandana? And Chester's like, you're right, that'd be stupid. And I just loved it.
Mm-hmm. So when you are in your house at the very beginning, Miguel is training these kids, and they have practice swords, and they're swinging. If you step in front of one of them, Cress gets owned. He gets whacked on the head and like flies forward and has a hurt animation. And I think Miguel says stay out of the way or something. That's great.
Awesome. Did you notice that one of the kids in the corner, his animation has an extra frame than everyone else, so he gets progressively more and more off?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Because he's like the guy that's struggling to keep up, and he can't, and it's so good.
Mm-hmm. Are we going to talk about how this game had like voice acting on the Super Nintendo?
Oh yeah, I wanted to bring that up. So yeah, this game had voice acting in a way that a lot of Super NES games that had voice acting did it, where like in battle you would have them like call out their attacks and stuff. That's not super surprising. What is surprising is that this game has an anime opening on the Super Nintendo, complete with a vocal theme, and they did it by putting each like stanza of the song as a sample, like a drum sample, and so there's a quote unquote drum machine that just hits the downbeat every measure to play the vocal theme. And so they accomplished having a fully voiced anime opening on the SNES, and it's amazing and super cool.
I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Tales of Phantasia and Star Ocean are the two largest Super Nintendo games because of the shit they did. They're like 6 megabytes each. And Star Ocean, interestingly, was by a lot of the people who made Tales of Phantasia.
Mm-hmm.
Tales of Phantasia was made by Wolf Team, and then some people who were big people on Tales of Phantasia left Wolf Team and founded Tri-Ace, which makes Star Ocean.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense if you play Star Ocean and you play Tales games. Back in the 6th generation of consoles, there was a big like B-list JRPG fight on who was better, Lloyd or Fate, because they both were very, very similar. And it's because they're cousins, because Tri-Ace and Wolf Team are basically the same. But
Fate is such a JRPG character name.
Yeah, Fayt. Yeah, that doesn't stop from keep happening in all of Star Ocean. Everyone has a stupid ass name like that.
What was the name of the guy in, I think, Star Ocean 4?
Edge Maverick, I believe.
Let me look that up. Yeah, Edge Maverick, which is such a name.
It's such a name.
Speaking of names, one of the party members I'm gonna spoil in Tales of Phantasia is named Klaus.
Oh, great.
So we have Chris, Chester, and Klaus.
You gotta love it. And so the reason that this happens quite a lot in JRPGs, and because they don't start with the same letter in Japanese like they do over here, but Cress and Klaus do.
Yes.
And Mint and Miguel also do. So it's still a little bit of a problem in Japanese, but it's exacerbated over here. Yeah, those are the only ones that I have. A lot of the skits have been good, but none have like stuck out to me and has been like hilarious so far.
Yeah, they definitely do feel like they were added later, because they were. But I still appreciate them. I am really enjoying this game so far. It's light, it's breezy. The battle system is not good so far, but it's like engaging enough. It's not boring and it's not hard, which I like when battle systems are hard, but if it's hard and boring, that's no good.
Yeah, the perfect JRPG battle system needs to have boss fights that are fun and engaging, and other fights that make your brain stay awake while you're doing dungeony things and not necessarily over engaging too much. And this one is like hitting that sweet spot, and I really enjoy it. Games that are the battle system is too good would be like Radiant Historia. You can't just smash A to get through the thing. You have to like figure out the puzzle for every random battle. And imagine if to kill a Zubat you had to solve a Rubik's Cube. And that battle system is rough to get through. And we don't have to deal with that here. It's the perfect level of smashy.
Yeah. And maybe it will get more interesting later. If not in this game, then in a few games.
Yeah. By Tales of Graces, I think is the one that's I've had the most like I'm playing an action game. This is good and I understand it and my skill is important. Is on that one. It sounds like you have to wait 13 games, but I actually haven't played most of the games in between now and then. So I don't know if the other ones have just as good as stuff. But
yeah,
we
didn't talk about our histories with the Tales series.
Oh, yeah. So I played Tales of Symphonia on the GameCube, and I got to disc 2, and I don't remember if I got any farther than that. And then I got a PS3 right after college, and Namco did a giant Tales sale where if you bought Xillia, they gave you and if you bought Xillia 2, they gave you Xillia 1 and Graces Xillia 1 and Symphonia for free and like 50% off of Graces or something. So you got to bundle basically every PS3 Tales game for like $1.50 kind of. And so then I was like, oh, I'll go back and I'll finally finish Tales of Symphonia. And I did, and it was awesome. And I completed it like the week before meeting Summer, and I was telling Summer about how great it was, and I was like, and then they gave me all these other ones, and we played through Tales of Graces, and Tales of Graces is in my like top 5 RPGs. We then bounced off of Xillia. It's a lot of people's favorite. I think it's bad in multiplayer, and it's fine in single player. Oh, also these games all have multiplayer. The rings that Cress and Mint start with. If you the technical ring is the first player, and the other two rings are the other players, so you can have other players playing playing the other characters, which is cool.
That's what those do.
Yeah, the item description does not help. It's just like, this is for sending radio waves. Beep boop.
It goes beep beep beep.
Yeah, but yeah. So they have multiplayer. So me and Summer played through Graces together, and then we bounced off of Zillia, and we're playing through Berseria. And Berseria has my absolute favorite opening act in JRPG history, and so they've always been a super favorite of mine for the past decade. But I actually haven't played too many of them.
Cool. I played Tales of Symphonia in 2004 because that's when it came out, and I liked JRPGs, but I had only a GameCube to my name. And do I remember anything about it? Yes, I remember the last line.
I don't even
and I remember the scene about coffee that is either hot or cold. Those are the two things I remember.
Yeah, that's basically all you need to know.
I know. I won't say I remember this. I just know this because he is mentioned occasionally in Smash wish lists and stuff. I know the main character is named Lloyd, and he has 2 swords because 2 swords is better than 1.
It's true. It's double the sword. Yeah, no one wants another sword guy in Smash Brothers, but they do want a guy. 2-sword guy. Now that's something.
Yeah, they should put Zoro One Piece in Smash.
Yes, they should put Zoro One Piece in Smash, and in his announcement trailer, they show Lloyd being like, "Look at me, I'm an anime guy, and I have 2 swords." And then Zoro shows up and is like, "Stupid idiot! No one wants a 2-sword guy. We have a 3-sword guy."
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that'll do it for this week. This episode is a timed exclusive for our Ko-Fi supporters. So if you're listening to this on the main podcast feed, head on over to www.rpgbook.club and drop us a donation, and you can have a few more episodes waiting on you when you do. Donations help us pay for hosting costs, game costs, and things like that, and in return, you can join one of 3 tiers. The Gadabout tiers for everyone who pays $1 or more a month. This gets you access to these episodes and our Book Club no Kaseki episodes a month before everyone else, and it lets you vote on our polls whenever they go live. The Warrior tier is for everyone who pays $5 or more a month, and it also gets their name shouted out at the end of every episode, just like this. Shoutouts to Dragon Slayer 19, Cerebral Wind, Floris, Kaldron, Freddie Rodriguez, Aaron524, Jfro Prime, and Doho. And then finally, the Luminary tier is for everyone who loves us so much that they pay us $20 or more a month. And so they also get a 1-cent shout out to make me say whatever they want. Shout outs to L. Tantavi, who wants you to check out critical-distance.com, an aggregator for games criticism and journalism. Shout outs to William Taylor, who wants you to check out rpgamer.com, a game review website by people like us for people like us. And shout out to Vimk, who says, play The Legend of Legaia. It's that PS1 RPG that everyone confuses with Legend of Dragoon. And also, shout-outs to Carr, who's a dentist. So his shout-out is not for his Twitch stream, but rather your own mouth. And he says to brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, the time right before you go to bed. For Tales of Podcastia, I've been Sam Allman.
I've been Bernard.
Gotta know when to go.
What?
Thing that Lloyd says.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I was trying to think of because the Bookclub no Kaseki one was very specific to Bookclub no Kaseki, and I didn't want to just say Toodaloo again. And then that's what Lloyd says when you run from battle.